we've gathered as, together through this forum. So it's only good that we have everyone's opinion regarding what we'll be talking about today. So today we're going to be talking about redefinition of Pan-Africanism to suit the context of the challenges of the 21st century facing Africa, or the problems, challenges Africa is facing in the 21st century. So I'm gonna just read it out as it was sent to us. How do we redefine Pan-Africanism to suit the context of the challenges of the 21st century facing Africa? So we're going to welcome our first panelist, Professor Mike Anthony. Are you there? Good evening, Professor.
Yes, thank you very much, Vandine, and good evening to all of you on platform. I believe that this is an opportunity for each and every one of us to get to actually understand and to learn what it means to be a Pan-Africanist, and actually to learn to find out, in fact, how to know much about Pan-Africanism. I believe that talking about redefining Pan-Africanism in context of the challenges facing Africa at this particular time is much important, because a lot of us, we have claimed the position of Pan-Africanist without actually understanding or knowing what a Pan-African is, or who a Pan-African is, or what Pan-Africanism is. So this evening, I would like to begin by saying we can't actually begin talking and defining who a Pan-African is without getting to know some facts about the history of Pan-Africanism, and getting to find out who came up with the thoughts of Pan-Africanism. So in this, I would like to give us a summary of what Pan-Africanism is all about. Pan-Africanism is a belief that people of African descent have a common interest and should be unified. Historically, the Pan-Africanism has often taken the shape of a political and a cultural movement. Today, we have created a movement, a social movement. There is more to it than just what we are seeing. So this summary notes going to actually help us understand what Pan-Africanism is all about. So as I said, in relation to the facts, although the ideas of Delany, Cromwell, and Blandin are important, the true father of modern Pan-Africanism was the influential thinker William Edward Dubois, whom by virtue of his insight, he placed a mark and a guide through which other Pan-Africanists came up and used in influencing their time. Throughout his long career, Dubois was consistent advocate for the study of African. God. Sorry, my network is disturbing. My network is disturbing. Okay, so as I said, to continue, I was discussing about what Dubois actually presented. And I was saying that in relation to understanding William Edward Dubois as an individual was a consistent advocate for the study of African history and culture, which the Caucasians made sure they wiped away, so to deprive them from their true identity, to deprive Africans from their true identity. So in a historical context, Pan-Africanism served as both a cultural and a political ideology for the solidarity of the people of African descent, wherever in the world they may have been located in their time, as well as now in our own time. So the African descendants, whether in which nation or country of the world, are in relation to the thoughts of the Bois, they needed to find out their history. They need to know exactly who they are. I'm bringing this back, and I would like to go and quote Marcus Garvey, whom, by virtue of his understanding, he made a statement: there is no future for a people who do not know their past. I'll bring it again if you like to listen to it. There is no future for a people who do not know their past. So in relation to the understanding of what Du Bois was writing, that is what Marcus Mosiah Garvey actually said, that there is no future for a people who do not know their past. So in relation to what we were discussing, as we said, most notably the champion and pioneer of Pan-Africanism is Marcus Garvey. It's Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And followed with Jomo Kenyatta and Kwame Nkrumah. So Pan-Africanism, as we know from the past perspective, actually aims to connect and to understand the universal injustices method to the Black people primarily in Africa and secondarily to the diaspora. So however, the past Pan-Africanist call of Garvey, Kenyatta, Nkrumah, and the countless others have translated into the modernity, which I'm going to come in now to actually define what our own, to redefine, because we need to look at Pan-Africanism from our viewpoint based on the challenges that are actually facing us at this particular time. Because there are challenges that are facing the African people at this present moment, which are not the same that were facing people like Garvey in his days, people like Nkrumah in their days. So we don't have the same challenges. So we need to redefine Pan-Africanism to fit our time and to fit our season, to actually relate with the thoughts and the challenges which we are facing at this particular period of time. If we don't do that, we'll end up living in the past and forgetting to know we're supposed to just use the past as a stepping stone to make a better future. So we will need to understand and redefine it. So in relation to my understanding of Pan-Africanism from the minds of Marcus Mosiah Garvey, from the minds of Du Bois, from the minds of Kwame Nkrumah and the others, we need to be able to get to a place where we redefine it based on our time. So I would say, from this perspective, which these great men built, Pan-Africanism has actually translated into this modern day idea of Black Lives Matter, which you could see the organizations have been formed from behind it. So, though it's translated into modernity, among those living out of Africa, like those in America,
century facing Africa. And while we're having him reconnect, Isaac, welcome.
So as I'm back, and I go ahead and talk. So in relation to our time, however, the ideology of Pan-Africanism applies essentially to the deculturalization of the African citizen and reculturalization of the same from the strange, barbaric, selfish, immoral, corrupt culture from the West. So I'll bring it again. To redefine Pan-Africanism in context of our time, I would say Pan-Africanism should apply essentially to the deculturalization of the African citizen and reculturalization of the same from the strange, barbaric, selfish, immoral, and corrupt culture from the West. So what we should define today as Pan-Africanism should be in relation to the idea of deculturalization of the African people, because we have been culturalized, we have been encultured with a different culture from us. So in order for the African man to know who he is and to identify his or herself, we need to get to the place where we are able to actually deculturalize the African man. And how are we going to do that? We are supposed to do that through different means, which we are going to be looking at this particular evening. So when we deculturalize the African man, we need to get again to culturalize him to understand what Africanism is all about. The African people have their culture. We are not Westerners. We are not Caucasians. The Caucasians have their culture. And as a result of that, I will be sincere to say, whatsoever does not resemble the African culture is supposed to be dealt with, dealt away with. So that is the primary aspect of modern day Pan-Africanism, or Pan-Africanism in our time. We are not fighting the same battles of Marcus Garvey. We are not fighting the same battles of Kwame Nkrumah. Nkrumah was fighting for the independence of African states. Today, we are fighting to give identity to the African people. African people lack identity because for a long period of time, they have been living in the shadow of the Caucasians. And because they have been living in the shadow of the Caucasians, they tend to think that they are Caucasians, because when you look at what is happening today in Africa, and precisely in most of our countries, you will discover that a lot of us, we act like we are Caucasians, like white people, though we are having black skin. We need to be able to define what it means to be black in order to live black. If we are unable to define what it means to be black, black is not only having a dark color, black means a lot than having a black skin and black color. A lot of us, we have been miseducated to hold on wrong cultures and on a culture that is immoral, a culture that is selfish, greedy, a culture that is divisive. And as a result of that, our lives are just as a product of what we have been educated with. So we need to uneducate ourselves from that wrong culture in order to re-educate ourselves on the right culture. So the first journey is that of uneducating ourselves. You know, that is the problem with Africa. We do not know how to uneducate ourselves, because most of what you have been taught is in your education in schools is Western. It's a Western world. So we have a problem of actually identifying now with our true selves. So I'll ask you again, it is time for you, for me, for each and every one of us to get to identify who we are. So defining yourself is essential. That is a primary aspect of knowing how to live as an African. So on that same light, I will say this. The center of the African struggle of this particular time in which we are in is not the same as the center of the Pan-African struggle of the times of the Nkrumahs. In this particular time in which we are in, the center of the African struggle has to be in understanding our uniqueness. understanding our uniqueness. The African people have their uniqueness and they need to locate it. They need to relocate it, identify it. When you know what is unique about the African people, it is not just their skin color, then we'll be able to rebuild the civilization that would take over the world again. We are lost right now because we don't have any uniqueness. We are like imitators, photocopies. We are struggling to live the life of the Caucasians. We are second to the Caucasians. And that is why when they look at you and call you a second-class citizen, you surely are thinking that they are insulting you. They are not insulting you because that is not the way it's supposed to be. Are you understanding that? So we need to rework on this. You need to change all these and make things work better. So before we get to continue, I would like to give back the floor to the journalists before I come back again to go further in the talk. But before I get to do that, I want to ask Felix Riota to make me back the host of the program. I discovered that you have been made a host of the program.
Yeah, I was about to ask why this host is been moving from Isaac to Felix. And anyway, yeah, Felix, could you kindly make Prof the host of the program? And Prof, actually, before you go, I have a question to ask you. When you're talking about the uniqueness of the African man, what exactly are you talking about? Because I got a message. I got a message from one of the participants, and he made mention of mostly physical appearance, like the skin
I didn't get that clear. Just permit.
color, the hair, and okay, I'm saying, right, I got a message from one of the members of the group, and he was talking about the skin color. He was talking about the hair. He was talking about, mostly physical things. And is that where our Africanness, is that all about being African?
Your volume is really, really not okay. I didn't get that clear. Can you take it again?
Can you hear me now?
Okay, just excuse me a bit.
Can you hear me now? Wow. Isaac, you indicated for contribution. Can you hear me?
Yes, please, I can get you.
Okay. So before Prof gets back, could you let us know what your contribution is about?
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Madalena. So for my contribution is, so as we are redefining back our Pan-Africanism, we have to first look way back as our elders did, the likes of Kwame Nkrumah, Julius Kambarage Nyerere, the Patrice Lumumbas, such that we can cope from their thing they did to Pan-Africanism. Then after, we weigh and we gauge the way how we can redefine it back. Here it is. Before Muammar Gaddafi was being assassinated and killed, he quoted one thing and said that we Africans, we have failed to unite ourselves, and of which the Westerners are over conquering our land. They will kill me, but one day, one time, Africans, even the Pan-Africanists, all of them, and those who are coming back as the young Pan-Africanists, they will not have any chance of of reuniting again. So, as I quoted his words, I'm appealing to those who are listening to us, those who are the Pan-Africanists, those who are joining the movement. Let us first review back the elder Pan-Africanists, the elders. Then we see the way how we can redefine it again. Here it is. As we are moving on with our movement, let us first know what should we do to redefine it again to be the new Pan-Africanism movement. Let us have the ideas of the new 21st century, such that when we, the young Pan-Africanists, as we are coming up and we want to bring back the pride of our Mama Africa, let us cope the things our elders left behind, the way, the culture, each and everything. Let us first neglect the Western culture, bring back our culture as Africans. It's the only way it's the only way our Pan-African movement will succeed. The current Lumumba in Kenya, he said, those with ideas, they don't have powers, but those with powers, they don't have ideas. As we, the Pan-Africans, the young Pan-Africans, now we have the ideas, and the ideas belongs to us, and the power belongs to people, and the people we are us. Let us have one culture, or regardless of the culture, but let us neglect the Western culture, and we first come back to our original culture of the old Pan-Africans. That's the only way we are going to reunite and will bring back our pride. Take an example. You go back now to South Africa. See the way how South Africans are suffering. Go to the Zambian streets. The way how Zambians are suffering. Each and everybody, we are seeing the way how the Westerners are taking over. But now it is our time to leave their culture. We come back to our culture and we bring back our pride. Take an example in Uganda, my country, whereby very many things had been taken by the Westerners. But our president said, no, we have to conquer our things back to the people, such that those people who are the indigenous people, they bring back their pride, but not following the Westerners' culture and rule. So I'm appealing, I'm just calling upon all the members on the platform. Let us have one unity. We conquer our pride. We redefine back the real Pan-Africanism, not following the Westerners. I know many of them, many of us, we are not proud of our culture. I know that. Because others, they are already in the diaspora. Those who are in the diaspora, they will start discouraging those ones in Africa. Those ones are in Africa. And now, here in diaspora, we are living in this way, and of which now we are discouraging that culture to come back to Africa. Let's have one language. As we are talking, let's neglect the Western culture. It's the only way how we are going to redefine back our Pan-Africans. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Isaac, for that deep contribution. Yes, we really need to go back. We really need to take steps back, and find out from our forefathers really what Pan-Africanism is. And it goes alongside what Prof was saying about culture. We have really and we've been diluted a lot. You know, we're no longer Africans as we used to be. We are adapting other cultures that don't belong to us. We are becoming some people else that are not Africans, to a point where we are not even proud of who we are. We are trying to become someone else. And I was asking a prof a few minutes ago before he left that I had the opportunity to talk to one of you know, the participants, one of our members, and he made mention of certain things that I thought that you could give a deeper insight to the things he was talking about, Pan-Africanism being especially when it came to the culture part of it. He mentioned like uh, um, the rampant thing that's happening now, women trying to change their color, men to do that, um, putting on hair that's not African, and all those things. So my question to you is that where the Africanism limits itself, or um, there's a deeper meaning to being African?
Okay, I want to say that is not the limit to being uh, an African, but I think also being original is very, very important. Being original means that you keep the state of being. I believe that the African woman has her own hairstyle that she could actually preserve, and it becomes a unique system and a unique style that others could copy. Because the white woman had, for a long period of time, been over the black woman, she now wants to look like the white woman. It's just like I said earlier, that based on the distortion of our uniqueness, the uniqueness of the African person has to do with those originalities that belongs to him or her. And when that is distorted, the resultant consequence is what? We start doing things in order to become the second of who actually taught us what they taught us. I'll take us back to the fact that after colonialism, or after slavery and colonialism, the black people see themselves as the second, and they envy the white because they look at the white people as superior, so they wish to be like them. And that is the reason why a lot of people will not actually waste any time in struggling, a lot of women in struggling to bleach their bodies to look like another. They will not waste any time in struggling to maybe put on a hairstyle that will make them look like the white. And that is where there is a problem. But that is not the limit to being an African. Pan Africanism goes beyond that. That is just an aspect of being African. Keeping your originality is an aspect of being African and of Pan Africanism. So there is much to being an African. There's much to being a Pan Africanist, which has to do with your spirituality. I will come back and say something. Uh, One thing I want you to know about Pan Africanism is that Pan Africanism is a holistic. It has to do with a holistic, cultural, physical, and spiritual combination. So it's holistic. It has to do with both spiritual, your physical, social, cultural, all that put in one package is holistic. So you can't actually take one aspect and believe that because of that one aspect you are more African than the other because of one aspect you are holding on to. But once, if you want to truly be a true African, Pan-Africanist, you need to be able to be holistic in your approach, so you get everything together. I think that is a part of it.
But Prof, I don't understand what being holistic is. Could you explain it to us? Like, can you expand on that word being holistic?
Talking about holistic is just talk like being whole. Let me put it in simple words like that. It's just being whole, the whole thing. For example, if you look, for example, let's look at things from this perspective. A lot of people believe that, uh, let me use it, the Caucasians believe in heaven and they believe in earth. Also, they believe in spiritual and they believe in physical. And in one way or the other, they separate the physical from the spiritual, and they believe that uh, in the physical, most of them, they believe in what they can feel, they can touch, they can see, and they can be able to smell. So they believe in that which is visible. But the African man, by virtue of his culture, is holistic in that he does not separate heaven from earth. The two are one. Yes, because that is the way the human being is. The human being is a whole. The human being is not a part. As a human being, uh, talking from the position of an anthropologist, when you look at a the human being has the body, the human being also has a soul. And you can't actually call the soul the human being, nor will you call the body the human being. If you want to call one part human, it would means that you will be actually dehumanizing that particular human. But for the human being to be whole, you need to look at him from the spiritual direction dimension and from the physical dimension. What do I mean? He does not separate himself. As I am here as a human being, I am both spiritual and physical. I have a soul and I have a body. And I will not neglect an aspect of me to uphold the other. Every aspect of me is equal. So, as a human being, I am whole. So when we talk of holistic nature of a man, the holistic nature of a culture, it has to include the spiritual and the physical brought together and without separation. And that is how African spirituality is all about. That is how African culturalism is, and that's how the African man is. I'll bring it back. That is what Pan-Africanism is. Pan-Africanism does not separate the spirituality of the man from his physicality. All must be brought together. So if these two are brought together, we will be better. The Caucasians have separated the spiritual from the physical, and that is why they are able to just take a human being and downplay with a human being. But you and I, from the culture in which we grew to know that we are part and parcel of the gods that live around us. We are in a society where we interact with gods. We interact with our spiritual ancestors who are gone. We are able to connect with them without necessarily seeing them, but we are able to connect. So those are some things that we need to bring back in order to talk about a holistic approach to things. So, as I said, if I look at you and I call you a corpse, it means that I've separated your soul. And if I looked onto your body most important than your soul, then I've actually done one thing. I've separated you. I'm no more looking at you from a holistic dimension. So being holistic means bringing the physical and the spiritual together, not separating any of them. I'm sure I've answered your question, Blanton.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prof. That was really necessary because we talk about certain things, and it's also necessary for us all to know exactly what we're talking about, the direction that we're heading to. When we mention these certain things, I see that other people have joined us. Good evening, Mr. Justin. Welcome, Mr. Vincent. It's a pleasure to have you all with us. And Bao, welcome very much. It's a pleasure having you again once more. It's been a while. And yeah, so we were talking today. I'm gonna for those of us who are joining us at the moment, and I said earlier that it's more of an open floor conversation today, in as much as we have Prof here who is the panelists for the day. But we are talking today about the redefinition of Pan-Africanism to suit the context of the challenges of the 21st century facing Africa. So I'm going to go to you, sir, Mr. Justin. What do you think needs to be done, especially in the 21st century, regarding regarding the issues that are being faced Africa in the light is concerned. Could you unmute your mic, sir, please?
Okay. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Could you repeat that question again, please?
Okay, my question to you is, what do you think can be done, you know, by the Pan-Africanists, you know, regarding the problems or the issues that, or the issues that Africa, 21st century Africa is facing today?
I think the subject is broader, but it's an excellent subject that has been brought in. I joined you in between the discussion from the point of view of the Pan-African concept for the youth and the current generation in the 21st century. I'm looking at as a country or as a world, as we are in Africa, we need to unite and behave in a similar way to understand our environment. In the first place, we've been exposed a lot to various concepts that are Western or Asian and all that. We are lucky people, I would say, because we've been all over. Now, having learned that, we need to come back home and then put together our efforts and our knowledge. And that knowledge, without looking at borders, we've been sharing through various forums where we have had lots of meetings in Africa. We haven't utilized that, but we've always dwelled within our cultural means as well as within our political means. I think we need to break that, and we should start thinking as one people. And as such, we should be sharing ideas cross-border, and we should be having groups that we can put together our Africanism and our Africa thinking in terms of building Africa together. That's my thinking, that we need to break the barriers of the borders. Let's forgo a bit of the culture that we have in terms of we are, and then build from there, and then have one particular nation. That's Africa as a whole.
Okay, we've heard this word over and over again: culture, culture, culture. And you mentioned that we as Africans should learn one another's culture, and we have other ideas or school of thoughts that is saying that Africa has adopted, you know, the white man's culture.
That's what
So
I'm saying, that we need to forego them. We've learned a lot from these people, but in our behavior, I've moved around Africa all over within the SADC region and over and above in the northern region of Africa. We all behave the same. We are human beings, and at the same time, our thinking is not different at all. And I've noted that what we are divided into is the political thinking that has actually divided us as Africans. But we are human beings in the first place, and we are one in terms of spirituality. Therefore, in the same manner, we need to think like human beings and then build out of that. We could have different languages, yes, but that shouldn't be a barrier. In my opinion, you can learn from a neighbor to a neighbor, and then you grow from another neighbor. And then you understand each other as you grow. So my belief is that we can build Africa together without actually looking at what we believe in at home, but what we are as human beings.
thank you very much, sir, for that contribution. And I'm going to ask you another question, if you don't mind. We're talking about the existence of African uniqueness, and we notice that it's something that has been long forgotten.
Mhm.
How do we bring this back to to a limelight? How do we reintroduce, the uniqueness of the African to the African man?
Uh, Africa believe in loving one another in whatever manner we are. I always believe Africans are very good at uniting one another. Unity, I think it's the culture that we brought in from the other side. I think one would look at money as evil, yes, but at the same time is what we believe socially is what has developed us. But that should not bring us with different views. We should take each other from grassroots level. Every person is unique. Every human being is intelligent in their own way. And that intelligence needs to be captured and used and shared. We have different knowledges, as the Bible says. Others are teachers, others are doctors, or in whatever way. There are different skills that we've learned in our lives. Use those skills and build them together and share them. Those who have got a different skill, build them together, and then they can bring in something. And then once we do that, if you look at how China's developed, they used every person and they've used every human being as unique in their own way. Those educated and non-educated, those who have got skills and others have learned to get certain skills. You'd be shocked in the villages, our chiefs, they may not have been to school, but they have some wisdom which they share with us. And we've grown with that. And therefore, that bit needs to be used as biblically. We will grow better, in my opinion. That's how I think. Hello?
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much for your contribution. I have written down on the chat
Mhm.
asking for any other contributions. If not, we're going to go straight into the second second topic
Okay.
of the
Thank,
evening. So again,
thank
I'm
you.
going to ask everyone who is on now, if you have a contribution, please, now is the time to indicate before we go to the second topic of the day.
Thank you. You allow me to come out for the time being, will you?
Yes, sir. I'll definitely get back to you.
All right. Thank you.
Prof, do you have any other thing to say before we move to the second topic for the day?
Okay. I was like I needed to conclude by saying that in relation to the decisions that most of us we have made, it is very important that we get to know that it is not all about being an African. That that's it's not just all about being an African. There's more than just being an African. A lot of people out there are Africans in black skin, but they are actually Caucasians amongst us. Why? Because as I said earlier, based on the miseducation of such persons, they are living a life that is actually borrowed. It's not their life. I don't know if Jem Peter is getting me now because you told me you were not hearing me before. If you are hearing, you can indicate now. So, like I said earlier, it is actually a funny thing when you get to see that a lot of us, though we are black in skin color, but we envy a lot of white people. We envy their lifestyle. We envy being what they are simply because of the the mindset that we possess. So it is necessary that that particular mindset be removed through re-educating. As I said earlier, we need a mental reformation. And for our minds to be reformed, we need to build an educational system that will be practically suitable for the African people to actually re-educate them on their culture, to actually give them identity of who they are. Because, as I said, what is lacking in the African man is the fact that he does not have an identity. And the identity of the African people had been lost because of the miseducation that they had and the suppressive life that they were placed under. They were meted with all forms of evil practices that permitted them to lose who they truly are. So the center of our struggle right now is actually to uneducate these people and re-educate them on the African life, the African culture, to re-educate them the way they are supposed to be. Because without that, it will be practically difficult for us to live who we truly are. Most of the times we'll end up living lives of other people and other persons. That is what is happening with most of the African people of today. We will not refuse the fact that we have been educated using the Caucasian system. And as I said in one of the sessions here, I said the Caucasian system actually, educational system, do not help awaken you as an individual. It only helped you to learn how to read and to write, but went further to deculturalize you. And deculturalizing you did not just end there, it went further in depersonalizing us. So most of the people who walk in black skin have been depersonalized. And as a result of the fact that they have been depersonalized, they actually lack identity. Once a person is depersonalized, he is finished. It means you have lost your person. It means that you are no more a person. You are not conscious of who you are. You don't know who you are. And as long as you don't know who you are, you will get to live whatsoever comes to you. So we will end up living the life of others. So my the insistence this evening is that we need to re-educate Africans on their uniqueness. We need to re-educate Africans on their culture. We need to re-educate Africans to get to identify themselves with who they truly are, from not just being black, but from knowing that there is something unique about them, which if they actually contribute to the world, it will make the world a better place and it will give a better civilization to the world. So to conclude on this, I want to say that getting to know who we are as African will foster the renaissance we are talking about, because we can't be reborn if we don't know who we are. So our identity is what will cause us to be reborn. And by virtue of this, it is each and every one of us a responsibility to come up with strategies through which we could actually become what we are talking about. So we are going to permit ourselves to be open so that we can inject the truth into each one of you. In fact, I'm still open and I'm always open to be taught about being who I am, because until a man knows himself, he is a nobody. That's why they say true sciences begin with the knowing of yourself. So if you want to be a good scientist, you must know who you are. And that is the kind of system that our parents, our ancestors used to have. They used to self-teach, give you auto insight of who you are. When you know who you are, you become whatsoever you can become. So that is where I am driving Africans to. They need to know who they are. When you know who you are, you can do the rest. Thank you. So we can enter the next topic if you want.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prof,
So
for
the knowledge of
concluding
ourselves, the
that
knowledge of ourselves will set us free, okay? And that is why we are on this platform I'm setting.
is yeah, is the beginning of Africa. That is why.
We are on this
Okay,
platform.
Prof, you're saying that is why?
We are on this platform.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Thank you for the any contribution to that topic. So we're going to move in to the next topic of the evening, and well, today again we'll be talking about the African youth, and our question is, how can the African youth possibly be a solution or a solution provider, considering they seem to be victims of poor leadership of the continent. So we all are aware of the leadership that we're facing in Africa, or as Africans on the continent, and we have all agreed that unfortunately for every African, we are being led very poorly, or by, like we said the other time, greedy or um, corrupt leaders. So today we want to find out how possible, or how can the youth possibly be a solution to Africa, given that we are under, or the youth is under such leadership. Is there a possibility that the youth can stand out and say, you know what, enough is enough, let us change things? Or is it, just a building castles in the air, that the youth can actually be a solution to the problems, or to the challenges that Africa faces as a continent? And I'm going to begin with you, Prof, given that you are our main panelist for the day, before I will give the floor to any other person. I'm hoping that you have your bottle of water there to, soothe yourself before you get into the next topic for the day. Prof. Hello, Prof.
Yes, I'm here, and I want to say, when we look
Connection is
at,
giving some problems. So, Mr.
are you
Justin, are you
hearing
there?
me? Are you hearing me?
Yes, yes,
Are you
I'm there.
are you hearing me?
Okay. Okay, Prof is back.
I
Yeah, we
was
can hear you now.
I was not off.
Mr.
I was
Justin's voice
there. I
is back.
was not
So,
off. I was on. Okay. Before I
okay.
get to, yes.
So,
So
okay,
okay.
Prof, the floor is yours.
Yes. So as I was saying, to begin with, the question is, who is a youth? Who is a youth? Because it is necessary for us to understand who a youth is. In relation to the dictionary, you might want to define youth based on age limit, which in relation to the UN is placed between the age of 18 up to the age of 35, 40. But I want to say that being a youth is not all about the age. It is more of uh, uh, the mental activity and participation that a person has. I want to limit to put it towards that direction. It's not all about just the age of the person. It also has to do with a contribution, mental contribution of an individual, an active participation of an individual towards the progress of his or her society. Once you are still playing an active role and having the mental capacity to contribute rightly towards the progress of your society, you are still among the youth. So the primary thing that I want to look at as a default, as a fault, I beg your pardon, in expecting much from the youth is the fact that primarily the leadership of our continent is a weak leadership, which has in one way or the other relegated the youth to the back. And not only doing that, they have rendered the youth very poor, and keeps on deceiving the youth that they are the leaders of tomorrow. And that has been a dysfunctional saying that has permitted the youth to keep thinking that they are meant for the future that never comes. So if those things are, if the youths are to actually be contributive to the progress of our present society, then they need to be brought into active participation in the present leadership of our continent. I want to remind you that most of those who call themselves today leaders uh, were yesterday's youths. And you know what? The independence of most of our African nations were not fought by the aged, they were fought by youths. Was the duty of the youth, the active participation of youths in struggling to see that the continent moves ahead and becomes in fact, they fought for self-determination, they fought for independence and all that, and it was granted to them, and they were the ones who kept on leading. Last time I said there have been a shift from that leadership, from that youthful leadership, because of a set of greedy men and women who have chosen to sit on the hem of the nation, and as a result of that, are actually, instead of progressing, letting the nations and continent progress, are busy destroying what they fought for and gained for the purpose of the freedom of African people. Today, we are more enslaved by Africans than enslaved by the Caucasians. Why? Because of the various uh, persons who sit in power and have made up their minds not to leave the seat. They have decided to become more of a problem than a solution. So our African leaders at the present needs to liberate the scene for the youth, but that does not mean that we are going to not encourage the youth to get fully involved, because some of them are hiding behind the fact that there is poverty and there are no jobs in the society. They are hiding behind the fact that there's lack of uh, should I put it, lack of jobs. The reality behind is that the the true problem is not that of a job, because we can create personal jobs. We can become self-employed by getting involved in agricultural activities and other social activities that will give us the finances we need. But as a result of the educational system that has been given to us, which only prepares us to become job seekers and not job providers, not innovative individuals, not creative and inventive, we then focus much on looking for jobs. And as a result of that, we get to become the problem also, because a lot of African youths have been trained through the Caucasian educational system that was brought to us, this colonial educational system. They have been trained to become more of beggars. So the education does not teach you what was brought to us, does not teach you to become an employer. It teaches you to become an employee. It teaches you to seek for jobs instead of creating jobs. But if you look, like I'll always remind you of the ancient African educational system, it was actually conceived to prepare the young man to become a responsible citizen. In what way? He owns his life and future. But if you look at the educational system that has been brought to us, it was meant to enslave us. So the educational system that today is used is one of the greatest limitations to the African youth. And as a result of that, expecting a solution from the African youth is like expecting to to use a spoon to carry water from the sea, or use a basket to carry out water from the sea, because most of them are actually empty. After having graduated from the university, they are completely empty. What I mean, for example, I remember the other day in Cameroon, in Yaoundé, the capital city of Cameroon, a group of PhD holders went to the streets actually rioting, and for the fact that they were not employed. And when some of them were actually given employment to become teachers, lecturers, they went back to the streets to celebrate and thank Mr. Biya, the president of Cameroon, for employing them. I was a little bit disturbed and I laughed because that is proof of the fact that the education that they are receiving is useless. It has made them slaves to a people, to a person. So I will want to say we need to reshape the minds of the youth for them to be able to become effective contributors towards the progress of the African society. But without educating them and expecting results from them, it will become like difficult because they have been deceived for a long period of time. They have been made to believe that their time is in the future. And since they had placed this in their hearts and in mind that their time is in the future, they end up uh, presenting a hollow uh, 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 attitude that make you see we are so much disturbed when we see some of the youth today because they present themselves as they are beggars, if they are beggars in the society. So that is one of the things that to me is really a problem, expecting solutions from okay, God.
We had Mr. Justin was um, who was about to answer the question. And I have a question for you, Mr. Justin. Um, we, yeah, Prof mentioned something. He spoke about the forefathers, our forefathers who fought and handed power over to the youth, but unfortunately, they have grown out of their youthfulness and have refused to give out power to the upcoming youth. My question is this: do you think that it's still not going to be risky at this point in Africa where every youth has been pushed to the wall? We saw some sort of find ourselves between the deep sea and the hard rock. That if a youth is given opportunity in power, they will be able to think differently from the leaders that are in power now. Do you think it's a possibility that they could bring it positivity than what the African continent is experiencing now?
My opinion is, as the youth, they are not to be treated as leaders of tomorrow. One thing is, do we have a purpose for the youth as leaders who are here today? Are the youth seeing the future? Are the youth today, as they see the world, has any hope for them? Now, what is the trend of their life? From experience over a period, as I've heard from Akumo, I think he's mentioned about the youth being trained or going to school or being educated to become employees. I think we need to remove that. We need to train our youth to become entrepreneurs. And at the same time, they are recruiting their fellow youth and they're building the nation. Because the more people work, the more they share the economy, the better the country, and the mentorship will continue amongst the youth themselves, because they will see somebody who has come out of his school, university, and possibly he hasn't worked, but he has started his own company or an entrepreneurship sort of business that has made him grow. And that's the type of life I believe we need to build on the youth. And at the same time, our youth learning with a purpose. And are we training ourselves to become leaders or to become employees? And in our environment, are we happy with what is happening? And what are we doing about it? Are we just sleeping over? Or we are working hard? Most of the youth, they will rather inherit things from their parents, which is not very good for Africa. We need to start working from at the youth level, at a small level, So that from the teenager point of view, the youth, if you ask him, what does he want to be? You find most of them, they want to become either pilots, doctors, or something of that nature. Fine, that advancement is good. But then when they become a doctor, what does he want to do? Does he want to become a doctor and work? Or does he want to become a doctor and employ other doctors? So those are the things the youth should start learning now, not tomorrow. They should start thinking of what they want to be, not in terms of being employees, but in terms of developing their own environment. I believe that's the best approach to life. I learned from the youth to be independent, and I worked through to become what I wanted to be. And that has worked because I worked hard. Our youth today, they don't learn how to work hard. As I've said, they want to inherit. So we need to remove that behavior in them, or that thinking in them, that psychological idea in their mind. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for that contribution. We had Bao, who indicated for a contribution, and then after that, Isaac is going to come up with his own contribution before we give the mic back to Professor, except, Sir Justin, you have something else to say after that. But in the meantime, Bao, could you let us know what you think about?
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, all right. My contribution is, as youths,
Prof, please unmute his mic.
Continue.
we find that a person can be a president maybe more than 80 to 90 years. So it's a result of our leaders. They don't give us opportunity or to teach us, because they're supposed to bring us near by them to say, no, as a leaders of tomorrow, what we should do, and show us the way to go. But what we see this time around, we see that those leaders, ordinary people, they try to bring confusion to the youths. When we are talking about those politics of this time, we find there is a violence every time. People are fighting. They're fighting. They funded by those ordinary people. So those who bring the confusion are the ordinary people, because they have got money, and their money they use to bring confusion to the young ones. So the problem which we are facing, it's not that maybe we don't want to be readers, but what we see to our elders, I think even the elders is a problem. So they're supposed to teach us the way. They're supposed to teach everything, the way we should do things, the way we should read people. We should learn from them. But this time around, through violence, I don't think that we can learn from our elders, because every corner of Africa, what I see in terms of politics, people are fighting. Those who are involved in fighting are young people. So these are some of issues which we should look as a reader. How does the readers read us? This is the reason where we find that some people, even if they became the, or in old age, they became a president or whatever, the way they behave, they suppose is not the way they're supposed to behave as a president. Now, what I can say is that our readers, first of all, let them teach us what to do, how to read, how to do things. And we are living in a tough time where we find that we don't have money. Many children, maybe youths, they complete school, colleges and whatever, but they don't have jobs. These are some of the challenges which we are facing. So I don't think that we can move without money. We are bankrupt. So we have to move. Thank you. This is just my contribution.
Okay, I'm guessing Bao is done with his contribution because
Can I contribute?
yes, Sir Justin, just after Isaac, because he also indicated for contribution.
I'll
And
quickly
then,
respond. I'll quickly respond because I have to come. My time is gone. Actually,
Okay.
something. What he's saying is that the leaders must provide for the youth. I agree with that. However, if you look backward and see how our youth in the past went through fighting for the freedom in Africa and all that, and regaining independence, it started with the youth, and they were youth at that particular time. Therefore, today's youth, our major problem, we need to think economy. How do we fight that economy? Yes, part of it, as I mentioned, is in relation to inheritance, which is not the best approach because our parents have taken us to school. Now, the aim of the parent to take you to school is not to inherit what your parent has got, but the aim is to teach you how he got what he's got as riches. Now, let's forget about the rich aspect, but the most important thing is that the youth must have a purpose of living on earth. And then if you have a purpose of living on earth, it will be very quick for you to realize what type of life you want to lead. Do you want to become a thug? Do you want to become somebody who is got to live a better life and then be in a better community and build a better community? That behavior you build as a youth, coming off from even university, coming off from any college you might come up with, are you coming out with a skill that will help you build others? And the whole essence is for you to become a future leader. And to become a leader, you start from anywhere. You become a leader from entrepreneurship. The moment you employ somebody, you're already a leader. And therefore, you have to know how to treat that person in order to learn from you and build that person. So as a youth, I believe we have a role to play in the community. Even if our country has got, every country in Africa has got lots to offer. Africa has got lots of things that a youth can take on and do better. My belief is that the youth are not doing enough themselves. They are in a cocoon. They are shy. They are not coming off to be recognized in politics. I would believe to see youth coming out, voicing out, and even in our country where now things have changed, we're in a third republic. Most youth now are in the leadership, and it's very good, it's encouraging. And as such, they're also creating jobs for being leaders. So I believe there's room for every person in Africa, and the youth especially, to become the key leaders, to come in, to go into the forefront, to lead on certain things that are available within themselves, within their society. So I encourage the youth that they should be the ones to start. You be trained as you go, and you learn things as you go. Otherwise, it's the same like a baby. You're born, you learn, and you pick up some tables as you're growing in your home. People move out things. They will tell you this is the wrong thing, get there and there. But you have to learn fast and they run fast, because otherwise you'll be subdued. We don't need leaders that should be repeated. We don't need aged leaders again now. We need you youth to grow up and become leaders of today. Thank you. I will be getting out. So thank you so much for this discussion. It's been very fruitful. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, sir, for joining us this evening. It was a pleasure having you with us. And we're hoping that you're definitely going to be with us again on Thursday, same time.
Okay. I'll join you on Thursday.
We'll be looking forward to it, sir. Okay. Isaac, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much for the second time. I will be backsliding back a little bit. Why the youth are now these days are the victims of poor leadership in our continent. So the reason being, very many youth of these days, they like soft life, and of which they don't want to engage themselves. Okay, for us, most of the times we call it dirty work. Engage in vocational training, agriculture, farming. They just want office work. Others, they just want, the moment they leave their studies, they graduate, they enter into politics. And of which, when you're going to enter into politics or to become a leader, first go back at the grassroots. First do what is recommended. First do what can, things that can help your area, or things that can help the people of the society, or the thing that can help even your constituency, or at the district level, or your region. That is the thing that we have to look into as the youth. For example, now you can't wake up one day that you want to become a leader, and yet you are not an example of a person to lead the society. Better first go back at the grassroots, first start up some of the projects, call upon other youth to come and engage into that project, move ahead. Within 2 to 3 years, come up with your intention, with your mind that I want to become a leader, so that the people of that area or the people will see the values of a leader in you. So that because you have started up something on the ground, which is helping very many people on the ground, so that the moment you come out with your minds of leadership, people will buy your idea, because they will know that the moment they send you to the top seat, you will get a lot of things from the government to bring those things back to the ground to help the people. For example, now in my area, in our country, Uganda, now very many youth are entering into politics of these forthcoming elections. Reason being, many of them, they engaged into the practical work on the ground level. They started the projects, and of which those projects are helping very many youth and even elders of 45 and above. They are all engaged in those projects. Now it is the time for elections. It is the time for politics. So those youth who made all those projects and of which they are helping people, they have come up, they have shown up the interest to become the leaders. That's the only way how we can become the good readers to read our people. But others, very many youth of these days, they have the intention. I'm studying the bachelor's degree, or now I'm mastering now I'm mastering in a certain profession. The moment I finish my graduation, I want to stand as a leader. That is not that is not the way how leaders become. To be a leader, first lead a small portion of, after getting the values and the qualities of a leader from the ground basis, it's when you come up with your mind and you set up your direction, and the people believes in you that you are the right person to be a leader. So I'm calling upon all the youth across the continent. Let us first go back to the grassroots. We develop ourselves from the grassroots. After developing ourselves from the grassroots, then we shall become strong and bold. It's where we shall become the good leaders. Because take an example like me now, as per now, I'm going to contest on the youth council to be the chairman youth council. Because I started my plan way back in 2014. I started making some projects, engaging in other activities, mobilizing youth. But as per now, I came up with my mind, said, no, I want to stand. Even my fellow youth, they're behind me for the thing that I have done to them. So I'm still a youth. Because for me, I was having the government work. But I sat down and I said, I no longer to be the job seeker, let me be the job creator.
Yeah.
I set up my project. In 2015, I got some sponsors of my project. After getting some sponsors, I call upon other youths, those who are interested to come to get the knowledge from me. I teach them for free.
Yes.
After teaching them for free, go out and exercise on your own. You have got knowledge from me. I haven't get anything from you, but you have got knowledge.
Yeah.
So in 2016, I set up another project. And that project, I called upon the earlier MPs, even those people from the government. They came and at first, they investigated the project. After seeing the project, they said, okay, we are going to do some requisition of the money, and we'll see that how we can bring up your project.
Okay.
In 2017.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Isaac. I don't want to cut you short, but we are actually running out of time, and I see that you really have a story to tell, especially the youth of today, because it's something that we all need to take, as advice for us. We don't need to sit and wait, for an opportunity. We have to create an opportunity. You have to sit and make up your mind and say you don't want to be lagging behind, or you don't want to be one of those that you sit and say, okay, until the government gives me, or until this opportunity comes out, for one of the sessions where you would actually explain detailedly to the youth out there steps that you followed to getting to the point that you are actually now campaigning for youth council. But thank you so very much for your contribution. It goes a very, very long way, and I'm hoping that every youth that is watching this evening will learn a lot from the steps that you took. And like I said, we would definitely have a session where we'll give you an opportunity to explain to us detailedly, or to outline the initiative that you took upon yourself to getting to where you are today. We really do appreciate it. It's a pleasure to have you with us this evening. So we have barely 8 minutes left for us to go, and this is where I'll give the floor to Professor Mac, who will give us a closing remark, and then we will call it a day. Prof, are you there?
Okay, in relation to what I've heard the other contributed, I want to say uh, the youth, as I started by saying also, has a lot of work to do in re-educating his or herself. You know, most of the time, some of us will believe that schooling is what makes education. Schooling is not what makes education. To go to school is good, but that is not what makes education. Education comes from the word educos, which actually means to bring out from within. So it means to bring out from within. So the purpose of education is to inspire an individual to be able to tap from within him, that from the wells of great things that he carries within, to contribute to his society. So if you as an individual is here at this particular moment listening to me, I believe it is a time for you as an individual to build yourself up. How do you do that? You get to re-educate yourself and become a contributor to your society and not a consumer. As I said earlier, the African youth has been trained to become a consumer and not a contributor. And as a result of that, expecting solutions from the African youth is like expecting a person to carry water using a basket from the sea. But I want to say we need to challenge the youth to get back to a place where they can start getting deep into themselves, because we can't keep on importing from Europe in order to satisfy the desires of the youthful population of Africa. The youth needs to build on themselves to be able to produce and provide for their present needs. Why? If we are able, I heard Isaac talking about what he as an individual has been able to do by building his personal brand. That is good. And that is what is expected of every youth in Africa, to start looking into it on how to add to the society what the society needs. We need to add to the society from the depths of the insight we possess. So if you get into your very potential, you bring out something which is going to bring you money. You see, a lot of people think it is by working in an office that makes you big. To be big is not to sit in an office. Some people think it is a kind of job that makes you a great person. It's not a kind of job. If you want to be a pilot, you want to be a doctor, you want to be this and that and that, it is good. But that is not what actually makes a person great. Greatness is buried in each one of us. And when you bring it out, that is what makes you great. It is the way you do something. Somebody might take something common and do it in a great way. And that great way of doing something is what makes that particular aspect of his life great. And if you do that, I want to be sincere, you will find that Africans will emerge. And the moment we emerge as Africans, will become the great contributors that uh, the continent needs. So it is a limitation if we keep depending on our leaders of yesterday and expecting that they can help us to become who we are supposed to become. I don't think that is possible. If you actually want to be different, you need to self improve. When you self improve, then through your self improvement, you can add to the society. The society you find around is waiting for you. I'll be sincere, the society is expecting you to do something. Most of young people that I know have died with great industries inside of them. A lot of people died with great companies inside of them, never being able to achieve them. All those great companies, great books. So just imagine great authors dying without writing a single book, great industrialists dying without ever inventing a single thing, great businessmen dying without ever selling a pencil, great company owners never even owning a small provision store. Why? Because they never took advantage of the potentials that they have in them. Like Miles Morrow used to say, that it is best to die empty. Dying empty means you need to empty yourself of the potentials you carry inside of you in order to be able to contribute effectively to your society. It is from the wells that you possess inside of you that actually can transform your society into a better place. So I want to challenge every youth listening to us this particular evening, and those that will be listening to the record, that you need to start living from inside out and not from outside in. Stop looking at the things that you see around you and start looking at the things that you carry inside of you, because what you carry inside of you is what can actually make a difference. What will give you a name is not what others have done, it is what you are going to do. So if you want to make a name, you need to find out what you carry inside of you that is unique to you, that is so unique to you and related to the purpose of your living, that is so attached to who you are. With that, you will find yourself contributing to the society and you will become the solution provider that we are expecting. So we expect that the African youth should become effectively a good contributor to the society. But for that African youth to become an effective contributor, he needs to first identify that everything he needs around the world is not out there, but it's in him. And until you are able to identify that thing in you, you will never be able to contribute towards the progress of your society. So I'm calling on every youth to get to identify the good that you possess in you in order to contribute to your society effectively. So in order to put it as a, to come to end the program, I want to remind us that we are on Pan-African TV, Pan-African Freedom Movement TV, or say Pafremo TV, which is actually up to educate our African youth to live life from within. So we are expecting that as you are listening to us, you can join this platform. Let's work together. Let's see how we can transform Africa. Let's see how we can make Africa a better place. I believe that if you and I decide to add something to the society, then it is going to be a beautiful society. Before we leave the society, we will leave it beautiful than we met it. That's the decision each and every one of us should make. We should make sure before we leave our society, it should be better than we met it, because what you find in the world today was added by other people. And if you die without adding something, then I want to believe you are the most selfish person on earth. But I choose not to be selfish. So I'll every day try to contribute my token to the society and trying to empty myself from all that I possess within me so that I should become a better contributor to the future of tomorrow. You can do the same. So join us on this platform. I will still call on those who will be listening to us. At the end of the day, you need to go to Pafremo, www.pafremo, P-A-F-R-E-M-O-V.org. Click there, go to membership and register to become a member, official member of the movement, because it is not all about participating through this, it's also being a member of the movement so that we can work together, because two is better than one. When we work together, our strength is bigger. What the two of us can do will do greater than when I'm doing it alone. So that's the purpose of our togetherness. Thank you very much. So, Madam Blantin,
Oh,
I'm done.
thank you very much, Prof, for that concluding contribution. It really went a long way. Like you were talking about education, and also the youth they have been made to believe that we need to get to a certain level before we can attain or before we can make a change in society. But the truth of the matter is, you need to, like you just said now, know what you possess in you, and don't keep it for yourself, but bring it out. So that we build together. We build a better world, especially African continent, which needs a lot of shake up and renovation as we far as the African mind is concerned. And it's with that note that we would say thank you all for joining us on this wonderful session of today. I'm hoping that, like me, you all have picked up one or two things that's going to help, reshape your mentality as far as Pan-Africanism is concerned, so that together we can build a better Africa for not just ourselves, but for the future generation to come. So yeah, good night, everyone. And can't wait to see you all on Thursday for another explosive and educative episode of Talk to Africans. Thank you very much, Isaac. And like I promised, we're going to have a session where you would talk to every youth and explain